Proving Triangle Inequality Theorems. Yan ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon dito sa ating matsayang talakayan. Kaya, stay tuned! Hello, grade 8 learners! Welcome back to our channel. For today's video, we will discuss the first part of proving inequalities in a triangle. With the learning competency, proves inequality in a triangle. In the previous videos, we already have discussed the different theorems on triangle inequalities. In this video, we are going to prove Triangle Inequality Theorem number 1, Triangle Inequality Theorem number 2, and Triangle Inequality Theorem number 3. To prove triangle inequalities, let's have to take note the different properties of inequality. Dahil ito ay magagamit natin sa proving ng theorems in triangle inequalities. Let's begin with Triangle Inequality Theorem number 1. It states that if one side of a triangle is longer than a second, then the angle opposite the first side is larger than the angle opposite the second side. Let's have our given triangle LMN, wherein LN is greater than LM. So we are going to prove that the measure of angle LMN is greater than the measure of angle LNM. To prove that, we need to make additional construction. So ilalagay natin yung compass point sa point L with radius LM. And then we are going to mark a point P on LN. And this is now your point P. So next is, we have to connect point M and point P with a segment for us to form triangle LMP, wherein LM is congruent to LP. And the angles formed that we needed in our proof is we have angle 1, angle 2, and angle 3. Now, let's complete the two-column proof using the guide questions. For statement number 1, how do you describe the relationship between LM and LP? So based on the triangle that we constructed a while ago with markings, what can you say about LM and LP? Correct, that is LM congruent to LP. And what is the reason? Of course, by construction, because we just constructed triangle LMP. Okay, now, based on statement number 1, what kind of triangle is triangle LMP? Since LM and LP are the legs of the triangle and they are congruent, so we can say now that triangle LMP is an isosceles triangle. And the reason is, of course, by definition of isosceles triangle. Then, based on statement number 1, how do you describe angle 1 and angle 2? Okay, so angle 1 and angle 2, based on the illustration, are the base angles of triangle LMP. So, we can say now that angle 1 and angle 2 are congruent because base angles of isosceles triangle are congruent. Okay, now, so based on the illustration, let's study the illustration and we are going to write a statement about angle LMN. Okay, so tingnan natin yung angle LMN. So what statement can we have in angle LMN? Okay, that's correct. We just combine angle 1 and angle 2 for us to have angle LMN. So, angle LMN is equal to angle 1 plus angle 3. And what's the reason? Of course, that is based on angle addition postulate. And based now on statement number 4. What inequality statement that focused on angle 1? Okay, so tingnan natin. Based on statement number 4. So, anong masasabi natin? Based on statement number 4 sa angle LMN and angle 1. Okay, correct. Angle LMN is greater than angle 1. And the reason is by comparison property of inequality. And it states that if x is equal to y plus z and z is greater than 0, then x is greater than y. So that's why we have angle LMN is greater than angle 1. Okay, the next, using statement number 3 and 5. So gamitin natin. So let's observe statement 3 and statement 5. So when we replace angle 1 with angle 2, we have the result. Angle LMN is greater than angle 2. Since nag-replace tayo, nag-substitute, so the reason is substitution property. Okay, next. Now, write an operation statement involving angle 2 and angle MPN. So, tingnan natin yung illustration. Angle 2 and angle MPN. Okay? So, makikita ninyo, these two angles form a linear pair. So, when they form a linear pair, then they are supplementary. That's why, in statement number 7, angle 2 plus angle MPN is equal to 180. And of course, our reason is the linear pair theorem. Now, on statement number 8, what operation statement involves in angle MPN, angle N, and angle 3? Okay, so nasaan ba yung mga yon? So, this is angle MPN, this is angle N, and this is angle 3. And these are the interior angles of triangle MPN. Okay, so what can you say about the interior angles of the given triangle? Correct. So, it is equivalent to 180 degrees. So, angle MPN plus angle N plus angle 3 equals 180 degrees. And the reason, the sum of the interior angles of a triangle is 180 degrees. Okay? Now, since we have there angle 2 plus angle MPN, which is from statement number 7, and on statement number 8, MPN plus angle N plus angle 3, since they are both equivalent to 180, so we can say that these are equivalent. Okay? And what property supports this? Of course, that is by transitive property. Okay? Now, so what will be the result if we are going to subtract MPN on both sides of the equation in statement number 9. So, when we subtract MPN on the right side of the equation, so, ang matitira doon is angle 2. When we subtract MPN on the left side of the equation, ang matitira doon ay angle N and angle 3. So, we have on statement number 10, angle 2 is equal to angle N plus angle 3. Okay, since we subtracted both sides of the equation by angle MPN, so the reason is by subtraction property. Okay, now, based on statement number 10, write an inequality statement focusing on angle N. So, what can you say about angle N? Okay, of course. we have there angle 2 is now greater than angle n. Sa anong property ulit ito? Okay, so this is under comparison property of inequality. Wherein, if x is equal to y plus z and z is greater than 0, then x is greater than y. And for the last statement that we have, we are going to use statement number 6 and number 11. If the measure of angle LMN is greater than the measure of angle 2 and the measure of angle 2 is greater than the measure of angle n. So what can you conclude? Okay, correct. Angle LMN is now greater than angle n. And that is by transitive property. Okay? Now, let's proceed to Triangle Inequality Theorem number 2. It states that if one angle of a triangle is larger than a second angle, then the side opposite the first angle is longer than the side opposite the second angle. So let's have our example. Given triangle LMN with the measure of angle L is greater than the measure of angle N. So let us prove that MN is greater than LM. So in proving, we are going to use indirect proof. So indirect proof, we are going to assume that the measure of MN is not greater than LM. Okay, so ano nga ba yung indirect proof na sinasabi natin? Indirect proof is a logic proof that proves a statement true by proving that the contradictory statement is untrue. Okay, kaya nga doon sa assumed natin kanina, we assumed that MN is not greater than LM, which is contradict to the statement that we need to prove. Now, given specific statements that are true. Okay, so you have or you must use the given statements to solve the proof. So remember, ang given statement are always valid. Now, let's complete the statements and reason in our two-column proof. From our temporary assumption that MN is not greater than LM, so on our first statement, we can say that MN is equal to LM or MN is less than LM. Okay, so first we are going to consider MN and LM. Okay, so what can you say about MN and LM? Okay, considering that they are equal, so we can say that these are congruent. Okay, if these are congruent, then we can say that triangle LMN is an isosceles triangle. Okay, so we have now our reason definition of isosceles triangle. Okay, consequently, what can you say about angle L and angle N? Since sabi natin that triangle LMN is an isosceles triangle. Okay, correct. They are congruent or equal. Why? Because these are the base angles of isosceles triangle which are congruent. Okay, and then we can now say that the assumption that MN is equal to LM is false. Why? Because the conclusion that angle L is congruent to angle N contradicts the given that the measure of angle L is greater than the measure of angle N. Now, for statement number 3, we are going now to consider that MN is less than LM. That is from statement number 1. So, considering that MN is less than LM, so we can say now that the measure of angle L is less than the measure of angle N. So, anong reason dyan? That is by Triangle Inequality Theorem number 1. Wherein, if one side of a triangle is longer than a second side, then the angle opposite the first side is larger than the angle opposite the second side. Okay, so with this, we have the assumption that MN is less than LM is false. So we can say in the reason that our conclusion measure of angle L less than the measure of angle N contradicts the given that the measure of angle L is greater than the measure of angle N. And lastly, we can conclude that MN greater than LM must be true. Okay, so what is our conclusion there? That is by trichotomy property of inequality. Now, let's proceed to Triangle Inequality Theorem number 3, wherein the sum of the length of any two sides of a triangle is greater than the length of the third side. So, with the given triangle LMN, wherein LM is less than LN and less than MN. So, we are going to prove that the sum of the two sides of this triangle is greater than the third side. To prove that, we need to make additional construction. Let us construct LP. This is an extension of LM, such that L is between M and P. So we have here LP is congruent to LN, and triangle LNP is formed. Now, let's complete the two-column proof. So what statement describes LP and LN? Correct. So LP is congruent to LN since we constructed LP. So that is by construction. Next, how do you describe triangle LNP? Since LP and LN are congruent, so we can now say that triangle LNP is an isosceles triangle. And the reason is, of course, definition of isosceles triangle. Now, describe angle LNP and angle LPN. Okay, so nasaan ba yung mga yon? Angle LNP, this one, and angle LPN, this one. So how do you describe this? Since LP and LN are congruent, angle LNP and LPN are the base angles, so we can say that angle LNP is congruent to angle LPN, and that is base angles of an isosceles triangle are congruent. Now, the illustration shows that angle LPN is congruent to angle MPN. Okay, so what can you say in our statement? So let us write that angle LPN is congruent to angle MPN. Okay, so ito galing lang yung LPN dito sa L, yung MPN galing lang dito sa point M. But ito yung angle na na-form nila. So therefore, they are congruent by reflexive property. Okay, for statement number 5, based on statement number 3 that if angle LNP is congruent to angle LPN, and on statement number 4 that angle LPN is congruent to MPN. So what is your conclusion? Okay, correct. Angle LNP is now congruent to angle MPN, and that is by transitive property. Okay, for the next statement, from the given illustration, the measure of angle MNP is equal to the measure of angle LNM and angle LNP. Okay, so nasaan ang mga yon? Itong measurement ng MP or MNP, this one, MNP yung buong ito, ay equal daw sa measurement ng LNM This is L and M. And L and P. This is L and P. Okay, so our statement, angle M and P is congruent to angle LMN plus angle L and P. Okay, so that's correct by angle addition postulate. Okay, the next, using statement number 5 and number 6. Okay, so pagsamahin lang natin yung number 5 and number 6. So our statement will be M and P equals measure of angle L and M plus the measure of angle MPN. So the reason behind that is substitution property. Okay, sinubstitute lang natin yung galing sa statement number 5 that LPN is congruent to MPN, and yung sa statement number 6 na yung MNP ay equal sa LMN plus LNP. Okay? So next, sa number 8 statement. For statement number 7, so the measure of angle MNP is greater than the measure of angle MPN. Okay, so anong property ito? Okay, correct. So the comparison property of inequality. Okay, wherein if x is equal to y plus z and z is greater than 0, then x is greater than y. Okay, the next, using statement number 8 and the illustration, write the statement with the given reason. Okay, so gamitin natin ang statement number 8. Okay, so anong masasabi natin from statement number 8? So yung MP is greater than MN. Okay, so anong reason? MP is greater than MN. Okay, that is by Triangle Inequality Theorem number 2. And for statement number 10, what operation involving LM and LP that you can write? Okay, so ano ang meron sa operation LM and LP? Okay, so ito yung LM, ito yung LP. So pag pinagsama natin sila, we can write that LM plus LP is equal to MP, and that is by segment addition postulate. Okay, now using statement number 10 and number 9, so we are going to write the statement. So what can you say about statement 9 and 10? Okay, so we can say that LM plus LP is greater than MN, and the reason is by substitution property. Okay, so from statement number 9 that MP is greater than MN, so we substitute instead of MP. So, ang nilagay natin doon is yung LM plus LP. Okay? And for the last one, of course, we have here LM plus LN is greater than MN. So, that is by using statement number 1, galing sa statement number 1, at titingnan natin yung statement number 11. And of course, that is still substitution property. And that's for today, guys. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Again, this is Teacher Dali na nagsasabing, practice makes perfect. Thanks for watching!